for me, this was the closing of the chapter. You know, like I feel like I've said this to Emma, like since the start of the year, I feel like I haven't been able to really move on or think about what's next or what to do because I've been stuck on this because until this finishes, it's there. Basically, yeah, I guess we'll go down on simple things. I mean, event setting, very interesting location. Doing an event in London is a little bit different. I mean, I think, from a Red Bull perspective compared to the last one, like I said, I thought it was better and worse in certain ways. Like, it's very hard to beat being in a castle, but they've done a great job. And they've done it in a way that, especially for anyone who's like British or understands the importance of Royal Albert Hall, it is incredible. The Odeon was an interesting one as well. It was probably the most comfortable setting we've had for any Red Bull Wololo if you're watching in person. London as a location as well. I think the other thing that's quite good about the choice to do London is like it's probably the most accessible capital in the world. So that actually like ticks a lot of boxes. Also, general accessibility throughout the day afterwards as well. Like you've got subway trains running for a very long time due to some grim occurrences that made them decide they should run those after midnight. Emma was tragically terrible at figuring out London. That was pretty much on me to do that for her. The games, I think, honestly, we probably had the best Age of Empires 4 games we've ever seen on a LAN. So, actually, I should probably, yeah, that's a good way to start. So, feel like KP, way too about Red Bull Wololo. You didn't work it. I didn't, but I was there. I was invited along by the Red Bull guys. They got me VIP tickets. So, you know, we were allowed to just go and experience the whole thing. Because they you know, it's not how they want everything to play out at all. So, you know, I have been weighing up whether or not I wanted to go because, like, I mean, it'd be a big play at BS to say, like, you know, I wasn't definitely heartbroken over it. I mean, once in a lifetime opportunity, casting in Royal Albert Hall, you know, the game that I love. But, you know, putting that aside, there's a lot of people I love in all the Age of Empires scenes on the Red Bull team. So it felt wrong not to go. So yeah, we went over for day 4, 5, and 6. So the first 2 days were in the Lux Odeon. That setting, as I said, was really comfy. Probably the most comfortable way that I've ever been able to watch an Age of Empires 4 event. And I think for anyone who was there, was that as well. It was, for those who don't know, it's a theater, right? So, like, you know, if it wasn't AoE 4 on, it would probably be like the new Dune. So that was an interesting one. Red Bull had to bust the butt off making that just right, and they've done a great job of that. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but theaters in the UK tend to have like certain beverage brands everywhere. And it's not easy to hide all that. But they made sure it felt very Red Bull-esque as much as possible within that setting, because you are in the center of London. I also love the small details. Like, basically, every single person, when they came in at the start of the day, was given a can of Red Bull just to kick them off, you know? It's a smart little way of doing it. I think Red Bull has always impressed me in the way that they, like, market within scenes. Because you really feel like they want to be involved and be part of what they're doing there. Wait, should we do... Let's do this more appropriately. Age of Empires soundtracks. There we go. As we are literally in, like... Sorry, it's going to be 2, I guess. Sure. Well, okay, that's not the vibe I'm going for. Rich Slavic leather sounds good. So yeah, with that side of it, the theater side, I think they only had a few minor tech hiccups. Like, it wasn't actually crazy disasters. I think there was a few moments where, like, the black screen flickered. I know that the clean feed going out definitely had its issues, but that got better day to day. But that's going to happen with any event. I think the big challenge for them is, how do we make this feel like a Red Bull event? Compared to the last one, I would say Renato felt more like you were in a Red Bull event, as in it was Red Bull, whereas this one was just designed to be epic, and then Red Bull attached to that. I don't know which way Red Bull prefers to go, personally. Like, my instinct has always been they like to really feel like it's epic, but they are clearly part of the moment. But there's only so much you can do when you're in, like, a location such as London, when you're in a location where you can't really strip it back and just paint it all Red Bull everywhere, so simply. When it comes to Albert Hall, absolutely incredible event. I got to experience that from basically every single level of the area. It was breathtaking. Very unique environment. Probably you will never see an event. Oh, there we go. You'll probably never see an event like that again in any scene. I would be surprised. So, in terms of the game quality, we get to my personal feelings and everything, because I can see a lot of people asking, "Are you coming back? What's going on?" Blah 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 blah. So, genuinely the best games we've actually had on LAN. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think, you know, although we didn't get full 5 set all the way every time, I think the players really delivered, and there was a very clear feeling that, like, it wasn't obvious who was absolutely going to take the crown, and we even saw that when we got into the final day. The map pool was decent. I think, like, there's probably a little bit more spice that could have been added in there, maybe some that should have been subtracted away. Balance-wise, kind of an interesting place. We're using this snipe system, but, like, Sengoku in particular just seems to, like, dominate the snipe system because you can't let it go through. I don't mind the idea of global bans, rather. I like the fact that they mixed it up because most of the time we do, like, targeted bans, right? But the other interesting thing within it, you know, I think my takeaway with the games is I think every set had a pretty good, at least one really good game. But my feeling, and I was saying this to M in person, is like kind of, and a few people, like in retrospect, is this too loud again? In retrospect, with the grand finals in particular, I noticed this. I think we probably need to review the draft system again and offer almost more options, because I think there is still a feeling of inevitability when you get that deep in a draft. And I don't feel like this is the first tournament that I've seen that in. I don't know what the feeling on players is in general, whether they like it. It kind of narrows down that way. I think Age of Empires 2 has this as well. But it would be nice, I don't want to say up in the air, because you want to feel like the draft strategy matters. But often when you have a series go all the way, there can be a very clear draft advantage that starts to rear its ugly head, I think, more often than not. And that's been a thing for 4 for a while, I feel like. And it's not exclusive to 4. I think it's an issue that haunts all Age of Empires games. But honestly, big shout out to Wham. That dude played his heart out, and it just felt like he came so close. I think that final game did just feel a little bit inevitable. Marine Lord felt a little bit inevitable. But he would have said himself, you know, he's the type of guy who'd be super cocky. If he thought he was like God tier and no one was going to beat him, he would have said it. I think for once he was actually kind of quaking his boots a little bit, which is great to see. Love the physical bans presentation? Yes, I think, but this has always been an issue. So for those who don't know, and we can use a visual indicator. The physical ban system, I mean, it's always cool in theory, but it's very time consuming, which is why I believe they only done it for the final day on either game. And it's very hard to follow because you're talking about these incy, tinty, wincy little things that the camera is trying to capture, right? Whoa, which you can see here, right? Like, it's very difficult to find a nice way of capturing it full. Even in person, right? You're so detached from it. But I like to think of it as kind of like, I don't want to say gimmick, but it is just, it's an extra piece of fluff in there because, to be honest, most drafting systems are done the exact same way. And you could argue that's for good reason. But I've always liked that for Red Bull, they want to try and make something a bit of a spectacle instead. It definitely gives it a little bit more variation. I think one of the tricky things I would highlight around this is the fact that from a caster perspective, the casters couldn't even think to talk about any insights they deeply had because they're probably paranoid that they're going to weigh in on the draft in some way unintentionally, right? Yes, Marine Lord and Wham should know better, but they might hear something from a caster that makes them think twice than when they're in the middle of drafting, right? And that might be a good thought or a bad thought, but because you can hear them when you're on stage, that does make it a little bit more tricky. Other games don't really have this problem. Like Dota 2, you take people on the stage, they go into their booths, they start drafting, but they're in a soundproof booth, so they cannot even hear the input of the casters or the analysts on what is or is not going to get picked. So very, very different in that regard. But like, you know, my feeling is wide on the drafting. I think as a community, there's still a lot we can do to make drafting feel better. And I'm personally of the feeling like I'd like it to feel less decisive as you get deeper into a series than it has historically felt in Age of Empires 4. But like I said, I appreciate the effort they put in. I always have. I think it's unrivaled effort, really. Like, not many people would think to try and do the things they do. I said this about the last event as well. Sometimes it might not look like it's a lot of work, but then you realize, like, especially, you know, things like the trophy. Is it like this giant ESL silvery cup thing? No. But they pay a lot to get that level of craft and detail. You can see that oozing throughout the event, because although sometimes it may not seem like a perfect environment from Red Bull because something went wrong here or there, you have to remember they're trying to integrate these very comfortable, natural events into I don't want to say uncomfortable environments, but very hard to execute environments. And Royal Albert Hall definitely is one of those. To the point that they even they had tickets freeing up last second that they were working hard to bring in, because I don't know if you guys know this, but with the Royal Albert Hall, the booths in there there's a bunch of booths that are owned by certain families around the country, around the world. And they have tickets for anything, because they basically donated so much money, crazy money, to have those built. They have the right to use their tickets for every single thing that happens in that hall. So there was extra tickets coming up last second because these people in contact and relinquishing those tickets. So they've done a good job of actually being fluid and trying to make sure that those tickets went on offer as quickly as possible. And I think it just the more you talk to them behind the scenes, the more you realize, like, logistically, I know how hard it is to run tournaments, but these locations put it on another level. But sorry, I went back in the event setting a little bit. I mean, this is probably going to be like a big one. I don't know if there's a big one. Maybe that's like narcissistic or something, but people are probably wondering why is personal feelings even in there. This was always going to be a mixed bag for me, right? Like, I own the dumb thing I done I should not have done earlier in the year. It was silly. It's not even worth looking up. But I will down this hill of, like, I still, even after calming down, don't think that the initial punishment fit the crime. And that has been echoed in my ear by a lot of people. But it is what it is, and moving forward from that. For me, this was the closing of the chapter, like I feel like I've said this to Emma, like, since the start of the year, I feel like I haven't been able to really move on or think about what's next or what to do, because I've been stuck on this, because until this finishes, it's there. My personal feelings going into it is like, yeah, it sucks. I mean, once in a lifetime opportunity, I wanted to do it, and I love this game. I love Red Bull. I love all of it. So it definitely is a heartbreaker. I wanted to kind of just stay out of people's way. I didn't want to feel awkward or anything at all. Like, there's no animosity towards different parties from my perspective, but I didn't want people to be in that position. This went to the extent, like, I tried to avoid seeing the casters, like, my replacement caster Dimu, because I didn't want to affect them and what they're doing or make them uncomfortable in their environment. I just want them to be able to do what they were going to do. And there was probably, like, an element of imposter syndrome. I'd be lying if there weren't moments like I just kind of told myself, why am I here? Not in a depressing way. It's like, maybe I shouldn't be here sort of thing. But you kind of have to shake that off, because honestly, the people that I did talk to seemed really happy to see me. And I definitely lost count at the amount of times people asked me to come back. It was pretty much almost everyone I met. Which is, it's heartwarming, and I love and appreciate that. It's been a rough year. I'll say that much. Even just bad, crappy stuff happening just 2 or 3 days before going out that was definitely on my mind while I was in London. So it's been really hard to just kind of switch off and just focus on having a good time. And I had moments where I was able to do that, and it felt great. I think for me, like I said, it's that you can't help but hold on to it in your mind, and you can't even think about what you're going to do next or what's going to happen next until it's complete. Which, now it is. It feels complete. It feels weird still, but it feels complete. And, looking back on it all, and I mean, it's still kind of a fresh wound, right? Because now that chapter is only just closed. I could have done things better. I think a lot of people could have done things better. I shouldn't have done what I done in the first place. There was, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation going around. I think something that I was really happy with, I don't think Ben will mind me saying, is, like, after he was done with his cast, we found each other, and we just kind of, like, we just talked it out. What's up, Fapla? Appreciate the sub.
Pog.
So yeah, like, it was good to be able to talk in person, because I think for him there was a lot of confusion over it, and he was being fed weird misinformation on what's happening, and I was seeing weird misinformation because for those who don't know, Dumu, yes, he was my replacement caster, and he done a great job of it. But like the feeling was, I know I saw some of the streams after my announcement, and I think he'll have because he said this on stream anyway, so it's not like it's news that he got some of the information wrong. And I'm glad we were able to put that to bed, because I think there are some good agents and some bad agents in every scene, and Age of Empires 4 is no exception. I've always believed Dumu is a good person. So I didn't like that there was like this animosity, but the animosity made no sense that it was there. It was almost like it was put there through miscommunication or whatever. The good thing for me, the really nice thing was kind of just getting a lot of clarity in person, because I felt like I'd done so much wrong or whatever. But, when you talk to these different people from like the RedBull side, for example, they had no animosity at all. They knew it was, just an unfortunate situation. And I still consider them good people that I'd love to work with. And I think the feeling was the same. It definitely gave me a bit of clarity on a lot of muddy areas, because even I, to this day, am not privy to it all. But, I think a big, really helpful thing was I was talking to someone that I hadn't seen in years since Dirt 2, and he actually was really helpful in highlighting you shouldn't just let something define you like that, because it's not who you are. And that kind of went to heart, because I felt like I'm in limbo for a while. But yeah, I'm going into full Dear Diary, probably deeper beyond just the feelings of the event. But it has been a crappy year. And you can keep wallowing in it, or you can try to find the turnaround point, the thing that makes sense, the way forward, however it's going to be. There are a lot of people I want to catch up with, but like I said, that imposter syndrome thing is probably going to be like, now that I'm shaking it off, I'm going to reach out to them and go, I hope that wasn't weird. I hope I wasn't weird. It's just a weird place right now. But I was happy to see everyone that I saw. I don't feel like there was a single person I was like, oh, this guy. But that's like Age of Empires to me. A lot of those people are like La Familia, extended family. Got to see Vortex, Lucifron. It's great to see him there as well. Paul Wham, Marine Lords, and heartbroken that Anatan couldn't make it, of course. I reached out to him the moment that I noticed he wasn't able to make it. I sent a message out to him. I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. It must have been a heartbreaker. But, he'll pound the pavement, he'll bounce back. But, in terms of AoE 4's reception, existence, I know there's kind of a mixed bag for some people, but I think Age of Empires 4 got a logical role in the show to start the day. And I know there's always going to be negativity between different scenes, but I think this was probably the right level of inviting and welcoming for AoE 4 to try and do more maybe of Red Bull in the future. That is my take on it. I think the games were the best quality we've had in all three, and I think that mattered a lot to maybe get it back. Personal feelings about like whether we'll see more Wololos. I mean, for my sake, I wish and I hope we do. I just don't know if we will. There's a mixed bag. So for those who don't know, they actually broke the record for peak viewership on any Wololo. But the problem now is Red Bull somehow has to exceed the Royal Albert Hall. And that's hard. 3,000 people. So it's like your goal would be, okay, we need an environment that is good for the medieval and historical theme, but can seat 3,000 plus people. And that's hard to find. So I'm sure they'll go to work trying to figure it out, right? There's going to probably be a guy that gets left in a room going stir crazy for like months at a time. But he's going to have a hard time with that one, man. Within the community feeling, like honestly, the community, there was definitely this divide of, to just describe it in person, in the theater you had the AoE 4 people, the devs and the AoE 2 people, but I don't think that was like animosity. Again, I think it's just, these are very big, comfortable chairs. You can't really oogle or boogle around much and chatter, but when people did, there didn't seem to be any strain or whatever there. And I think it was good. It was good to have Ford there as part of it, even though it was only a small part. Like, that was definitely a theater full of AoE2 people, but that was always going to be the way, right? It was the same thing with Wololo Legacy, where 2 people bought the bundle tickets that would have affected the 4 days, because there is a lot of people that will go and go to these events for AoE2. Like, the reality is we're still a very small scene that is a lot less invested. Not to say you guys aren't invested, but like, you get what I mean. The legacy and the build up that's been there, right? It has always been an AoE brand. So I know some people are always going to be frustrated about the presence that AoE4 has, but like, you can't be greedy. You have to build. And I think there's something good to build on here, because for once we actually got really good games. Like, it was just day and night difference. Like, we've been totally real. Mythology made us look really bad last time. No offense to players, no offense to the game, but like, the game state and the way that played out with just like one series, it didn't look great for 4. Whereas, like, from a marketing standpoint, people seeing this, great. Small changes I probably would have made. I think for a start, one thing I really liked, I liked that there was more explanation going on about like mechanics, just kind of treating it like a newbie stream. I think that's very important. It is definitely a shame there was no analysis environment involved with Age of Empires 4 with like someone on the desk with Riley. But that, to give a little bit of insight, that's a bigger problem with these event locations. Red Bull knows they have to be out at a certain time. That's the exact reason why they have the time limit thing for Age of Empires 2, where if you hit a certain time, it comes down to score, because they can't be in those venues beyond a certain point. That's the contract. They don't have any control over that. So that means they have to be very cautious about how long a show is going to go in a different area. And thus why, there was no room for analysis role, because I think that was a big thing I was trying to try and push forward, as I thought it'd be really cool to have like an analyst for AoE4 as well as have the casters. But yeah, outside that, I'm trying to think of what we've got to cover here still with community. I think I met a few different AoE4 people. They hunted me down. I probably could have done a better job of like making myself known or whatever, but I don't know, like, weird, vulnerable place. They were all absolutely wonderful. It was heartwarming, Even some of the devs, dude, the amount of devs that like I watched your stream, I'm like, I didn't even know that. So, I felt like I'd say the way I describe my involvement with the community is when I made myself known or whatever, it was either heartwarming or maybe a little bit awkward at times, because like they didn't know I was going to be there and they didn't know how to feel. But from my side, there's no animosity. Life sucks sometimes. Life sucks a lot of times, actually, you'll find. But, something I've been trying to live my life by now is life is 20% things happening to you and 80% how you react. And that's something you can always take forward and learn from. So, you've probably been listening for like 25 minutes now, rolling your eyes, saying, shut up. Get to this part. What's next? Oh, he's like, hold on a second, zoom in. Ooh, this is the one that everyone cares about. This is the one that everyone wants. Is he coming back? I honestly don't know. It's a crap answer. A lot of people asked me to come back. And there are challenges, right? The reality was I was putting in a lot of hours. And I wasn't making enough money to get by. And I think I remember some people at the time in the community, because you have this habit of honing on the bad comments, called it greedy. It's not greedy. I need to put food on the table. I can't like, responsibly keep losing money. And then what happens eventually, right? You just have to go get a job. So for me with AoE4, things have to change somehow. And that's on me to try and maybe find a solution to see if there's a way to make it work. I'm trying to get very big on, instead of coming up with excuses like I think we all do in life as to why something can't be, to try and manifest it to be. It doesn't mean it's always going to be possible, but when you change your mindset that way, it completely changes the landscape of how you theorycraft that situation. So, there's definitely big challenges here. Like, the money for KPMM would have definitely been reallocated by now, and Nilly has already done everything in place for the next year. So I'm probably, if I am going to do Age of Empires 4, I would kind of have to be a bit of a leech, I guess. Like, basically casting over everyone's content. But I think for a long time, I kind of held back off of that because I want to keep people their own space and whatever, and I probably shouldn't have, because the reality is, although there are some people that respect that as well, those people that don't. And that's fine. That's what it is. That's how Age of Empires 2 has existed for a long time. Everyone runs tournaments, but everyone casts everyone's tournaments. And I shouldn't be afraid of that. I should just embrace that and be part of it. I think I need to focus a lot more on things outside the live stream to try and grow the scene and vice versa, grow me and revenue sources if I want to try and make this possible. And I don't think I'm going to shy away from exploring new games because I don't think that's bad. That was always part of the plan and not in a bad way. It was that I always envisioned that we could go try new games, meet new people, bring them into the community, feed it back in AoE4, but then also be able to, feed people from AoE4 into games that I love or believe in. So like that, I think we're going to be in a experimental phase because, yeah, of course I miss AoE4, right? Like, how can you not miss a game that you spent 5 years bleeding for, I remember when I was on a call with one of the Microsoft devs and he highlighted how many hours I streamed of it last year. And I was like, that's kind of insane. I think it was something like 1,400 hours or something. And that was just on my own channel. So like I've done everything I can for this game and I want to continue to help it grow, just like I want to help the other scenes grow in any small part I can, Like there's a lot of people in Age of Empires 2 that I absolutely adore. And wider RTSs. I feel like we're just a bunch of niche cliques that really need to find more ways of collabing, to be honest with you. So to give you what's next in a TLDR, we're going to start streaming some Age of Empires 4 again and see how I feel on it. But there's also going to be other content here. And I hope people support that. I think there is an avenue I could have went where I just keep the bridge burnt or whatever. But for me, it's now a case of a lot of people have asked and requested and begged for a return. I'm at least willing to see what that looks like. I'm not going to say I'll be here forever because I have to see how it goes, but I want to try and see if there's a way to make this work. Because, with everything going wrong at the start of this year, I was just seeing, not red in anger, but red in everything is going in the negative money-wise, and I'm like, I need a big change. But instead of, just going nuclear and moving forward, maybe there is a way that both work together. I think another big part for me is going to be spending a lot more time focusing on esports presenting and hosting and casting on other channels, because part of the reason we ended up in this bind is I spent so many countless hours just focusing on this channel. And we did make progress for sure, but it's very, very hard in a niche scene to pay your bills on just that alone. So it's really about finding a much more healthy balance for me in general with everything I'm doing. And I hope to do that. The thing that my mantra throughout this year, muttering to myself, has been, we will turn the worst year we've ever had into the best year. Because, wearing my heart on my sleeve here, that this is, for many reasons, been literally the worst year I've had on this planet. Ever. And it does keep getting worse. So, you got to manifest that and you've got to turn it around. You can wallow in a corner and play Linkin Park on repeat, or you can try and do everything you can to turn bad into good. And that's really my focus, is to get to the end of this year and have a giant ass tweet that begins with all the worst possible crap you can imagine, followed up by the best possible crap you can imagine. So yeah, goals moving forward, see how Age of Empires 4 goes. Probably a mixture of doing some pubcasts, tournaments. I'm probably just going to start basically casting on my channel when I'm not working events, regardless of the events. It's time for that. I've avoided it because I wanted to give people their space to find sponsors, but I don't think it's even helped them necessarily find sponsors, and we just need to say screw it and do it. Not in a selfish way. It's more that if people want me there, they'll watch this. If they don't want me there, they'll watch the other thing, and that's just how kind of has to be. And then Age of Empires 2, I hope to be involved in some AoE 2. Hopefully we'll be able to do some hosting there. That'll help a lot. And I'm now just trying to reconnect with new routes. I might start exploring a bit more Deadlock. I might also start looking at trying to organize tournaments in different new avenues and games. Olden Era, for those who don't know, is going into early access at the end of the month. So maybe I explore trying to put something together small there. I think funding-wise, that's going to be the real big challenge now. Is if I want to get back to running my own tournaments, I'm now, after saying I don't make money off of what I've been doing, I'm going to have to now find even more money because I'm going to need funding too. Because I don't just want to be there milking other people's content as free content. I want to be able to give back. That's always been my goal. But that's going to be a longer task, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that kind of summarizes it. I thought we'd actually go over the games because I like noticed some interesting things. I think big shout out to Emma, like her just sitting there a little bit clueless and asking me what things were happening in game and me explaining them, even though I haven't looked at AoE 4 in over 2 months and yet still knew a decent amount. Kind of put a smile on my face. Like, she's really been my rock through and through. I couldn't do anything without her. So yeah, and she's been harassing the crap out of me, so blame her. Hashtag blame Emma is going to be a new thing. Oh, number 4. Feedback from AoE2 people, because I could genuinely get where they come from. A lot of AoE2 people they said they wanted to be open AoE 4, but they could not understand what the hell was going on. And I still maintain that camera angle in 4 has got to change. It is ass elbow too high in the sky. This has always been my personal take. It's the way we cast closer. It's so much more intimate. And, you know, I show them, like, some of that, and they're like, oh, yeah, now you can see things. There's people like, it actually is a beautiful game. You just can't see it because you're so far away. But yeah, that is my summary. I might just raw upload this 33 minutes of content to YouTube and see what people think. And we'll go from there. But I'm not going to say back fully, but we are going to be dipping our toes back into the AoE4 water and seeing how it all feels. Because, of course, I miss this game. Dude, like, you can't find many people that have bled more to try and build it. We'll see how it goes. Because I'm not going to go into full detail because I don't want to turn this into a pity me and, like, you know, fund KP to Disneyland. There's a lot of rough stuff happening in my life. I've got huge changes for me on my own personal health. And one thing I'll say, and I will not say what I done choosing to leave was wrong. I needed it. Because something that probably a lot of people don't know is I had a lot of health problems bundling up that were going completely untreated and undealt with because it's tomorrow KP's problem, which is not a healthy way of living, by the way, guys. So, you know, I've got some of them with diagnoses now, some of them waiting for further diagnoses, big changes in my life to feel a lot better, and hopefully that'll be refreshing. And hopefully better news coming in from other parts of my life as well. So yeah, I don't regret taking a break from AoE4. I think I needed it really badly. Like, insanely badly. Like, if we kept just going as we were going, it was going to end with me live on stream. Not even as a sub-marathon goal, shaving my head bald, screaming Britney songs into the microphone. And it sounds funny for about 10 seconds until it becomes depressing. So, yeah, what we're going to try to do next for AoE4, a lot more healthy. And there's a saying, like, what is it? You know, like, I'm going to go American for a second here. America, like, it's a scene in Billions. I shouldn't say it because the villain says it, but America is built on second acts. So watch this one.